Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Season 6 of the Choose UCalgary Podcast. For first-time listeners, I'm your host, Montana, and I am so excited for this episode and to introduce you to today's guest. Today's guest is actually halfway around the world, and she's going to be talking to us about her experience at the UCalgary, where she is now, and everything about her journey along the way. So with that, let's get started. Today, we're joined by Claire. Claire, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Claire. I started at the Haskell School of Business in 2018. I grew up in British Columbia, so I moved to Calgary to go to university. I am a business major, and I will be graduating actually at the end of this summer. And I'm currently studying abroad in Vienna, Austria.
Yeah, so we're doing this remotely via Zoom, and Claire is in Austria. You've been there for how long now?
Just over a month.
Over a month, right? Yeah, so a little more backstory about that. So Claire and I have known each other since first year, actually the first day of first year, right? Yeah, we both lived in residence and we were on the same floor. So I have gotten to know Claire over the years, and I know you've always really been interested in studying abroad from the day I met you. So can you just kind of tell everyone where you were in first year and why you were so passionate about wanting to study abroad at such an early stage in your university career?
Yes, definitely. So I knew I wanted to study abroad since high school. I actually graduated high school a semester early so I could go travel in Italy by myself. Yes.
At 17.
So at 17, yes. So that definitely gave me the travel bug. And I knew that going to University of Calgary was going to be a great experience, but I really wanted to enhance my university degree by adding on an exchange. I was actually supposed to go in 2020, but of course, with COVID, it got canceled, so I had to push it to now. But I'm extremely grateful that the experience actually had to happen. So I am now graduating abroad, which is kind of crazy, so I won't be going back to Calgary, but I'm super grateful that this experience could still happen. Mm-hmm. And in first year, I definitely knew I wanted to study abroad, but I didn't know what steps I had to take really to get there. So it wasn't until second year that I actually started planning my exchange.
Mm-hmm. Did you find that to be a lot more challenging than you initially anticipated?
Actually, no. I think the advisors, I dealt with the advisors through the Haskell exchange program, but there's also the University of Calgary exchange program if you choose to do that one as well. And they were super helpful. And studying abroad really isn't as difficult as you would think it is. The planning, yes, it is more than you would do if you're staying in Calgary, but overall, it's not very complicated. The tuition for me is actually the same as I would be spending if I were in Calgary. So that's super nice. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so even just by planning my study abroad in second year, I didn't feel underprepared or overwhelmed. And I am graduating on time as well.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's the crazy part too, is studying abroad, it doesn't have to extend your degree if you don't want it to. Obviously, a lot of people do take more than 4 years to do a degree, and that's a viable option as well. When I met you and I knew how much you wanted to study abroad, I always knew you wanted to do Europe, right? So how did you find Vienna specifically, and what's that process like?
So again, I worked with my study abroad advisor, Stacy, at the Haskell School of Business. Highly recommend if you want to go to Europe through Haskell. Mm-hmm. And basically the website's super detailed. You can go through and see all the options. You can also do this if you decide to do the general University of Calgary study abroad program. Both websites are really, really helpful and useful. And you have a chance to look at all the different exchange partners. Ultimately, I decided to go with Vienna because I really liked the central location. I knew I wanted to travel to more exotic places, I guess, more in Eastern Europe. And so I thought Vienna is a very central location and kind of a good hub to be able to travel to those locations from. Definitely. And then I also have some family and friends who also went on exchange in Vienna, and they said they had an amazing experience. So that was also an incentive as well.
And so, like you said, you've been there a month now. How many countries can you even count that you've been to in just the past month?
Yeah, so in a month, I've been in 5 countries already. And tomorrow I'm actually going to my 6th. So it's definitely been super easy to travel. I didn't have class for the whole month of February, so that gave me the opportunity to travel a bit extra. But even now that classes have started, I am planning weekend trips. There's also a really good buddy program at this university, and they plan trips that you can sign up with all the other exchange students. So that's actually the trip I'm going on tomorrow to Budapest. Yeah, I definitely didn't expect to be traveling this much so quickly, but when you're studying abroad, you meet new people, everyone kind of has all these plans and you just go with the flow and end up in 6 different countries.
Yeah, literally. And I think that's also an interesting aspect. And Claire and I have talked about this a lot. When we were in residence in first year, we lived in the Rundle building, so on floor 2, and we were all business students, and there was a bit of a sense of community in a lot of different ways, whether it came to different classes that we had together or we were able to study together and that sort of thing. So when everyone's in the same boat, I think we could both agree it's a really great way to meet friends because everyone, feels the same way. I was just wondering if you feel like that has also been the case in Vienna, because obviously you're surrounded by people on exchange and other students. And has there been any parallels from your University of Calgary experience and being in Vienna?
Yes, actually being in Vienna kind of reminds me of first year. I think it's just a big group of people being thrown into this foreign situation. So everyone's trying to meet each other and become friends really quickly. And it's honestly very refreshing, especially being a 4th-year student. I didn't think I'd ever experience something like first year again, or living in residence and living in dorms. So it's definitely been a rewarding experience that way and a really easy way to meet friends. And I think if you're worried about studying abroad because you're worried that you won't be able to meet new people, that should be the least of your worries because it's incredibly easy to meet so many people from all around the world.
I completely understand what you're saying. And I think that a lot of students might be worried to travel abroad because obviously it can be scary to go to a foreign country or to move to the University of Calgary, to go from wherever you do live and to move in there. So I guess what else would you say for someone that is nervous about wanting to study abroad, but does think the opportunity could be great? What would your advice be to them?
Honestly, just do it. The experience happens so quickly. Already it's been over a month into my exchange and I feel like I just got here. It is an overwhelming experience living in a foreign country,
Totally.
but at least for myself, I found that I got used to it really quickly. And it's such a go, 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 fast-paced environment that you don't really have time to realize how crazy this experience actually is. So if you are a little bit nervous, I would honestly just recommend to get outside of your comfort zone. Try to find people who have gone on exchange in the past, speak to them, ask them all the questions that you need to really have that peace of mind. And yeah, go for it. Book those flights, arrange it, and study abroad. I think it's an experience that absolutely everyone should experience in their university.
I agree. And I would also say, so you have also enhanced your degrees in different ways. I know you've been a part of different clubs and things like that. So have you found any clubs in Vienna? I know you just kind of started school, and also your experience with clubs in different ways you enhanced your degree when you were in Calgary. Can you kind of speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so I have always known again that I wanted to go on exchange. So coming to the University of Calgary, I really wanted to find a group of like-minded individuals who have that sense of travel and international business and all of that. So I actually joined the International Business Students Association in second year university. And my role in the club was to help run the buddy program. So basically that program matches exchange students with University of Calgary students, and they can kind of become friends and do activities together and really have a home base friendship here in Calgary when they come. So that was a really amazing experience. And then coming to Vienna, I found out that they had a similar program. So I was in the opposite situation, and I now have a buddy who has been helping me out here. She, makes phone calls for me in German if I need help, or if I need a hand with anything, she's always there to help me out. So that has been a really incredible experience just being part of this program. It has really helped me to become established here and have a friend the moment I stepped off that plane.
Of course. And I think even with that, it helps that transition period that I think you face when you go to a foreign country. So it's interesting that both of the universities had the buddy program. So you got to see both sides of that and really not only reap the benefits, but also help someone else. So yeah, I think that's a really full circle moment,
Definitely.
You've also enhanced your degree in a different type of way with an internship. So could you also talk to us a little bit about that? This week's episode of Who Inspired You at the University of Calgary comes from Abby Ness, and who inspired her is her professor, Bethany Savoy. Bethany Savoy taught Abby professional use of self, which is a social work ethics class. When Abby was starting her social work schooling, Bethany's expertise and work experience taught Abby how to apply her morals and values in what will be her future career path. We cannot wait to see who inspires you at the University of Calgary.
Yes. So in the spring of 2021, I started an internship, and I did that for actually the remainder of 2021. And I was a part-time student at the University of Calgary at the same time. And that really did enhance my degree. Knowing also that I was going to study abroad, I knew that I would have this full range of experiences by the time I was graduating. And I was also shocked to know that I could still graduate on time, get an internship, and study abroad. So that just goes to show that if you want to do it, if you really prioritize graduating on time, if that's what you want to do, then you can still do it. If you want to extend your degree by a year or two, you can also still do all these amazing experiences. So it's open for anyone.
Obviously, you were in BC for part of your degree as well, but what do you miss the most about Calgary?
Yes. So I only actually spent a year and a half of my degree in Calgary because of COVID, obviously. And then I moved back to BC. So it's been a while since I've been in Calgary, but I would have to say the things I miss the most are definitely Montana and my friends in Calgary. I miss the university itself. I miss, the clubs that I was part of and the people who were also in those clubs, and also just some of the comforts of being in Canada. A big difference that I've noticed in Canada versus Europe are the grocery stores and just random everyday things that you would expect living in Canada and growing up in Canada. They don't really have them here. Another random thing is everything is closed on Sunday. So you can't go to the grocery store, you can't go to the pharmacy. There's nothing you can do on Sunday. So that's kind of crazy. So certain little luxuries and comfort, things like that, I definitely miss from being in Calgary.
For sure. And I know that we would go study a lot of different places in Calgary. That was one of Claire and my favorite pastimes, whether it was a Starbucks downtown or the smallest coffee shop we could find, also the farmers market in Calgary. I'm just going to list off the things that I miss doing with you at this point. We obviously go grocery shopping together a lot. It's interesting that only spending a year and a half here, and then obviously going back to BC, now being in a foreign country. I think that even though your time here was short, you definitely have strong foundations in Calgary in a lot of different senses, through the people, through places that you go. So I think that goes to show that being scared to get outside your comfort zone, physically, and move different places, you can reap a lot of benefits from it, and it's not as scary as you may think it is. So speaking more about your experience in Calgary and at the U of C in particular, has there been a professor or a class that has really stuck with you to this day?
Yes, that's actually a really good question. So the first one that comes to mind was MGST 217, and this class was my first class of first year university, and I actually had it with Montana, and we met two of our really good friends, Brianne and Aiden. I remember, renting a study room at TFDL with all four of us and doing all our group work together. So that was definitely a very memorable experience. And the second class that I can think of is my international business class that I took. And this was a really excellent class to take because it taught me a lot about international business and definitely got me excited to go on my study abroad.
What would be your favorite memory, or what is something that you learned from being at the University of Calgary specifically?
I think the biggest thing that I learned being at the University of Calgary is that there are so many different ways that you can enhance your degree, but it is your job as a student to take those steps and put in the work to find those different things, such as a study abroad program, a co-op program, or different clubs. So a key takeaway there for any student coming into the University of Calgary is to really try hard in your classes, obviously, but also put in effort to find extracurriculars as well.
For sure. And speaking of these different opportunities, do you have any regrets on something you wish you would have done during your time in university as you kind of come to a close? Whether, I know you've talked about different things, like you have been in the clubs and you're studying abroad and you've definitely enhanced your career in a multitude of different ways. But is there anything that you've heard of that you wish you would have been a part of?
Actually, there is one thing that I can think of. The University of Calgary has a lot of different opportunities for students to study abroad, even just for, spring break or for the summer semester. So I really wish I took those into account and perhaps done, a month-long study program. I think there's one in Japan that you can do, or China through the Haskins School of Business. So trying to find different opportunities like that, I think would have really enhanced my degree even more.
My final question for you, Claire, if you could sum up your university experience into 3 words, what 3 words would you use?
That is such a good question, Montana. So the first word I would definitely say would be valuable, because I think any university degree is extremely valuable in anyone's life. The next one is memorable, because along with the university experience comes with, meeting new people, doing different things, and creating those everlasting memories. And the last one would probably be eye-opening. I think going to the University of Calgary was a very eye-opening experience. It taught me, different ideas of future career paths. It taught me a lot more about myself, and it just really showed me what the world has to offer.
I think that's a great way to end it and to sum everything up. Thank you so much, Claire, for being with us today on this week's episode and for sharing your experience at the University of Calgary. Here at the University of Calgary, we look forward to engaging with prospective students, and please feel free to reach out to us via our Instagram, Facebook, or website, all linked below in the description. Until next time, this has been the Choose UCalgary podcast. Bye for now.